Julia Query is a writer and psychotherapist in San Francisco. Formerly a comedian and filmmaker, she is best known for her film in 2000 about the successful unionization of the Lusty Lady, winner of the SF Film Festival Audience Award for Best Documentary, live Nude Girls Unite. After theatrical release, it was broadcast on Cinemax and the Independent Film Channel in the United States. It was aired in Australia, France, Spain and other countries. It is currently being made into a Hollywood film by Reason Pictures. Julia is now editing an anthology called Death, Taxes and Puddle Jumping, inspired by Pema Chodron.
Please welcome to the stage, Julia Query.
It's 5 o'clock in the morning and cold. I have been up since 3 a.m. getting my 6-year-old and myself out the door for a free river rafting trip. It's a free trip because it's for special needs kids. I was excited about the trip, happy to be going away for 4 days on a river, camping, all meals provided. But in the dark of 5 a.m., waiting by the bus, I'm not happy. It's cold. But mostly, I'm not happy because I'm surrounded by retarded people and people in wheelchairs. Yes, my kid is special needs, but he's just a weird kid. You know, he goes like this when he's excited. He's always sticking his shirt in his mouth to concentrate. He can play an entire kickball game that way. But he's smart and he's sweet, and when he grows up, he'll have a job and a family. I take him to Therapies, and I've gotten to know the kids in these groups, but none of them are in wheelchairs. They have a speech impediment, or need help with social skills, or have ADHD. Waiting by the bus and seeing these kids in wheelchairs, I'm wondering how safe is it to take them on a river? The trip is organized by the stable where my son gets therapeutic horseback riding lessons. And I don't know anyone at the stable. And I don't know any of the kids who go there because my sister takes my son for his weekly lessons. She picked my son and me up this morning and dropped us off with another kid who gets lessons there and his dad, who are going to give us a ride to the stable where we're waiting for the bus. The dad is nice, but very focused on getting the stuff in the car and on making his 8-year-old son, Cody, think better. Come on, Cody. You can't go in that way, buddy. Think about it. Cody, what are you saying? Stop talking, Cody. Think about it. It's hard to make Cody think better. Cody is moderately retarded. The dad's way with his son is making me uncomfortable. I feel like he's belittling Cody. At the same time, I'm finding Cody highly annoying. And I can understand the dad's frustration. You know, we're all tired and stressed, except my kid, who's really excited to be with Cody, an older boy. To a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old is a rock star. My kid's also excited to be with any kid. We homeschool my son because he was rejected by the kids in his preschool. It wasn't always that way. He was just a smart little kid, spoke so clearly that we used to joke that he had the best pronunciation of any of us in the family. He was friendly and outgoing and had lots of friends. Then, about 2 months after he turned 3 years old, and shortly after having a low-grade fever for a few days, he suddenly changed. There's a European folktale called The Changeling. Goblins come and they take the baby and they replace it, or the child, and they replace it with another being that looks the same, but it's not. Maurice Sendak wrote a story called Outside Over There, and in it he writes, "So the goblins came. They pushed their way in and pulled baby out, leaving another, all made of ice." And so it was with my son. He suddenly stopped making eye contact. He started falling down. He stopped learning. He started flapping, making odd noises. He would go to the same spot in the sandbox every day and dig, looking at the sand intently and nothing else. I'm a trained psychotherapist. I've had lots of classes in normal and abnormal child development. I specialize in working with couples with young children, and I keep an eye out for developmental delays. So when I looked at my son, digging in the sand intently and looking at nothing else, as though the volume dial to the world had been turned up so high that he needed to shut us all out, I thought, he's bored. He's such a smart kid, and he's been going to the same park with the same kids. He's bored. He's thinking. I had hit the edge of what I was ready to know. A friend pretty quickly said, hey, you need to get him evaluated. And that maybe, because I immediately called for a neurological assessment that day, maybe you'd think I went over that edge. But I hadn't. I was shocked to find there was a 6-month waiting list. But while we waited for the better places, we saw other doctors and alternative healers. But I wasn't over that edge. I thought we were going to see the doctors to have this reversed and cured. Blood work came back and he was low in carnitine, and I was so relieved. We need carnitine, I say to the doctor, who looks at me funny. I had never heard of carnitine. He gives us a prescription, and my son doesn't get better. And then there's this moment when I'm talking to my sister, and I say, well, he doesn't have autism. And she looks at me and says, why not? How do we know he doesn't have autism? And I felt the world tip a bit. And when I could refocus my eyes, I knew everything was different now. Our new life was one of therapy appointments, OT, acupuncture, speech therapy, social skills, private gymnastic lessons, which is just a cheaper form of OT, therapeutic horseback riding, also a Anat Banal Feldenkrais nutritionist and Western doctors for EEGs and things like that, and various regimes, strict dietary regimes, enzyme supplements, Chinese herbs, and brushing him 10 times a day with small plastic brushes. He began to recover. He started to learn again. He stopped falling down. And some of the flaps and some of the odd noises, they went away with the Chinese herbs. I figured out a way he could play with other children. He could play one-on-one if I helped structure the play. But if I invited more than one child to my house, then he would be left out. And I thought I had accepted my new reality. But in the dark of 5 a.m., when we get to the bus and I see children with drooping bodies in wheelchairs, I didn't accept my new reality. I wanted to leave. It's time to unpack the bags. And as we unpack the sleeping bags, Cody goes running off to a gray-haired man who greets him warmly. I continue unpacking, and I can hear them chatting and interspersing the chatting with bits of cheerful camp songs and the Beatles. I watch. He's amazing with Cody. He's gracious and warm, engaging everything Cody has to say with enthusiasm and matches Cody's exaggerated speech. And when Cody gets stuck and doesn't know how to express himself and just sort of stops, which happens frequently, he doesn't get impatient and finish Cody's sentences. He doesn't correct Cody at all. He just leans over and gets Cody's eye and then asks Cody a follow-up question that Cody can answer, a simple question. I'm relieved and grateful. I feel like he's teaching me how to be kind to Cody. I go up and introduce myself. His name is Steve, and he greets me with the same enthusiasm. I ask Steve some questions about the trip. Steve is having trouble answering my questions. I realize Steve is also moderately retarded. And I feel this alarm and cringe and embarrassment. No, I thought this trip was for special needs kids and their parents. I look around. There's a group of adults with Down syndrome standing, clutching their pillows, and near them are two adult men in wheelchairs, and they have handkerchiefs tied around their necks to catch the drool. And there's two bustling young caregivers talking to the guys in the wheelchairs and talking to each other. And over there is a tall man. He's about 30, and he's sitting cross-legged on the ground. His back is very straight, and he's rocking and making a tisk noise. Tisk, tisk, tisk. And I wanted to leave. Wasn't a complicated I wanted to leave. Didn't come with a big storyline. I just really wanted to leave. And I felt guilty immediately because I don't want to be someone who is repulsed by disability. I like thinking of myself as a compassionate, open-minded person who would see the intrinsic value, the humanness of anyone I meet in any situation. And I just want my real life back. I want to go. I could say I feel sick. I could say I have the flu coming. Like I could say I have a hot feeling. I could say I'm getting a migraine, but I've never had a migraine and I don't know how to fake it. And my kid, I could apologize to my kid. I'm so sorry, honey. We're not going river rafting, but it's okay because we'll go home and we will watch movies all weekend and we'll bake cookies. And on Sunday, I'll go to yoga. And I really want to go to yoga. I want my life where I go to yoga. I don't want this life where I'm part of this club I did not ask to join. But nobody asked to join this club. A 60-year-old woman walks over to the 30-year-old man who's sitting in half lotus on the ground. She's clearly his mother. She leans over and checks in with him, and he doesn't speak. But he points at the bus, and she says, soon, mija, we'll get on the bus. She didn't ask to join this club. I remember my commitment to practice what Buddhist author Christina Feldman teaches about equanimity. Not equanimous, that's horses. Equanimity, sort of like serenity. She says that to have equanimity, start practicing an equal willingness to feel the pleasant, the unpleasant, and the neutral. And don't pretend to like the unpleasant. That it's not a fake it till you make it practice. There are those, but this is not one of those. This is just be willing to feel the good, the bad, and the neutral, the stuff we usually ignore. So instead of running away from what's unpleasant into fantasy and things like that, like I feel sick, I'm going to go home, or grasping at the pleasant, we'll make cookies, or ignoring the neutral through restlessness and boredom. By being willing to feel the pleasant, the unpleasant, and the neutral, we can go over the edge of what we know with ease. So I took a deep breath, and then I just observed what was going on in me. This is unpleasant. This is what it feels like when I'm experiencing repulsion. This is aversion. This is guilt. And I didn't get lost in what the guilt was saying about me being a bad person. I just saw it there. And then I saw this is fear. This is mostly fear. And then I was okay. Okay at 5 o'clock in the morning. And you know, I wasn't great, okay? I was just okay. I wasn't happy. I wasn't even cured of my fear. I was just okay at 5 o'clock in the morning in the cold, surrounded by my fellow members of the club. None of us asked to join. Okay when the doors to the bus opened. Okay to get on the bus and unpack our bags and our pillows and our snacks. Okay to get ready, knowing it's going to be a long ride. Okay is the biggest spiritual word I know. okay with what is and okay with whatever will be, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And my story is about running away from the unpleasant. But sometimes we run away from the pleasant. A couple recently came to see me for couples counseling, Jenny and Doug, and they said, I can tell you the story. And they have a great love story, fabulous love story. But then a few years after they'd been married, these troubles came, and they weren't the normal kind of troubles. Okay, they were really big troubles. They were like biblical-sized troubles. They were plagues, they were locusts, and they got hit with a lot of locusts. And they suffered the locusts alone. And when you suffer alone, it hurts, and then you get resentful and suspicious, and that's what happened. And so things were pretty bad. But they told the story of being in the living room last month, and Jenny was crying because she'd been hurt by a friend, and Doug came in and he saw her, and he went to put his arms around her. And she observed in herself this urge to not accept his arms because it would feel too good. It would be too pleasant. And what if it didn't last? But she accepted his arms, and I got on the bus. And once I was on the bus, people started talking to me. And as I got to know them, then what had been unpleasant, some of it became neutral. Not all of it. Some of it became neutral. And as we had a good time on the trip, some of the neutral became pleasant. And now my son and I go on that trip every year. And we go because we love the people. We have a great time. They throw the best party ever. In my book that I'm writing, this chapter is called If You Haven't Partied with Retards, You Haven't Partied. But we also go because by opening my heart to the folks on the trip, I learned how to love my son more. Because like Cody's dad, I can get really caught up in trying to make my son be the best kid he can be. I want him to learn the skills that he needs to have success, to do well. And you know, it's loving to want the best for someone, but it's not the same as loving them. Loving my kid as is what I learned from being on the bus. That's what I learned. And this year, on our third year on the trip, 5 years since my son's onset, I was brought into reality gently once more when I realized that I don't know. I can hope, I can dream, but I don't know that my son will grow up to have a job and a family. And that's okay.
On my window pane, clouds melt into dew, sunshine or pouring rain. Life begins and then it's through. Situation's always the same. Two-bit dreamer, betting high. $1 down for fortune or fame. I'm so far in the hole, I might as well try. As we sail beyond the edge of the sky, the sleepy land between